it just progressively get worse until you're at the point where, half the people you used to roll with are all dead.
Yep.
And, you're sitting in jail detoxing and you're like, what the hell just happened the last 8 years? Like, how the hell did we even get here?
Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Adam. Got Waz here with me today, co-hosting. We got a special guest. Recently bought 2 cars from you.
Yeah, good experience.
Jonathan
Fridegar.
Frigidaire.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. You're built like a fridge anyway, so. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
We've talked about your story, my story, and although I don't remember all the details of our conversations, I know I drew all these lines. There's a lot of similarities, and the biggest one being like we went through active addiction, and now we're both on the other side of it in recovery, successful in what we do. We have families, careers, we hit the gym, all the things. So I want to start though with the beginning, like how the fall started.
Yeah. So, my generation, I kind of caught that tail end of the overprescribing.
Mm-hmm.
So this would have been, I think, probably 08, 09, 07, like right around there. And so it was the last day of 8th grade, and we're playing tackle football out in the field. Got picked up, slammed down, shoulder dislocated. They took me out to, and at the time, my dad was in the service, so I grew up overseas until I was about 16, 17 years old. So this was on an Air Force base over in England. And they got me over to the military hospital, had put me under to put my shoulder back in. And then I left the hospital that day with a prescription of Percocet. And the following day, I remember waking up, school was over, summer just started. I'm wrapped up in the sling, my shoulder's killing me. And I remember looking at the bottle right there, and it said something like, take 1 to 2 every 4 to 6 hours for pain. And then I was like, well, let's see what happens if I take 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember taking 4, and I was walking. At the time, we lived right off base. There's it's still military base housing, but you still have to walk through, get onto the actual base. And it was probably about a 45 minute walk right around there. So I remember taking them. I'm wrapped up in this sling, and I start walking on base to meet up with some of my friends. And just as soon as I hit that main gate, they scan my dependent ID card. I walk in, and I remember that first sensation. It was like the first time in my life I ever felt like everything's going to be A-okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it just absolutely washed over me. And, I don't really know what the deal was, because throughout all that time, it was just so easy to keep on getting that prescription refilled. So
Yeah.
I'm, 13, 14 years old. And essentially it was meeting with the doctor. Oh, I'm out of pills. My shoulder's killing me. He said, oh, instead of you coming back so many times, he'd write me a script for like 3 or 4 refills. So then you just keep on pounding them out. I'd go back to the pharmacy. They'd refill it again and over and over. I mean, I've had from there, there was 2 rotator cuff surgeries from it. And that went on from, 13, 14, probably till I was 18, just continuously getting prescribed these things. And then it got to the point where, my shoulder's all healed up. I feel good. I'd either purposely get it hurt or I'd fake it getting hurt in order to go back to the hospital again and just keep on having them refilled.
Yep.
But,
was there a point after that you started kind of, because I'm just thinking my experience is very similar, injured, prescribed. And then after that, I went into like more of drug seeking where, I can't get this prescription anymore, but I have friends that can get it. So Was there a point in time where it shifted for you from the prescription to just buying it off the streets?
Oh yeah, and there was a multitude of things, just because my whole life we moved around a ton, bouncing back and forth between England and Germany most of my life, and then moving to the U.S. Um, when I left England and went out to came to the U.S., there was a big culture shock going from, I think we maybe had like 200 people in our class to graduating with like 30 people. So at that point, not only did I want to medicate, because, missing all my family and friends and everything that I had overseas coming to the U.S., I just didn't really fit in at all. Mm-hmm. So it was a mixture of trying to find an escape and then just trying to find a friend group. So, and easiest way to, sometimes make friends at that point, especially when you're young, is, going to parties, what's everyone offering you while you're there. And then you kind of get into this, this group, or like, I always think of it as like kind of like a hive. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you go out to these parties and everything, but then you have those, 4, 5, 6, 7 people where you guys have the special little thing that you guys all do together, mm-hmm. whether it's, Coke or acid or opiates or what it is, you have that all together. So you're bonding over this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So in your head, you're thinking, oh, these people are my best friends. But really, as soon as those drugs get taken away, then you guys really even talk to each other. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. Going to these parties, I wanted to make some more friends, then at that point you start getting involved with, uppers. So at that point it was a lot of Coke back then. I mean, this is 2014. So Molly was a really, really big thing back then. Mm-hmm. So everyone's taking Molly, doing Coke. And then, like sassafras. So it was just like a lot of uppers, mm-hmm. But then in my like heart, I always had my love for opiates. Yep. So from there, it was just kind of trying to find, because back then, you could still get pills. Yep. So, it's still trying to find, your Oxy 30s or your Oxys or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of how, and it just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse from there. First, you just start snorting everything that you're doing, smoking it, mainlining, and it just progressively get worse until you're at the point where, half the people you used to roll with are all dead. Yep. And, you're sitting in jail detoxing and you're like, what the hell just happened the last 8 years? Like, how the hell did we even get here?
That's where it just makes me think like the jail experience for a lot of us, myself included, was kind of a blessing in disguise. It's one of those things that in the big picture, it's just like in the small picture, in that moment, it's like, man, why'd they have to catch me? Why am I here? You're pissed, But I feel like in the big picture, when I reflect on that was a blessing. Took me off the streets, told me, I'm in this jail. There's no access. So my first 100 days of my last time, I was able to go from being mad to, okay, I need to change, to I'm really going to change. And then that's when I landed at Harbor Hall. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that cycle of being sick, going into detox, and then figuring out, my thing was moving, shaking, conniving, manipulating into that next fix. And it was just this cycle of misery.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you the first time I went to jail was in 2000. It was in 2019. Got into a good amount of trouble. Weren't out in Bay County, Midland County, all that kind of stuff, and finally all got caught up. And I'll tell you, the first time I went to jail, I was scared. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was horrified. I was probably, I was one of the few people that actually got overweight when they were doing dope. Yeah. So, I was probably sitting about 270, 280. I get arrested out in Coleman. They bring me down to Midland County and sit in the cell. And then, of course, you start detoxing and everything like that. And I was absolutely mortified about going into that jail just because, I've done a few overnights, weekenders or whatever, but never went into, an actual
being in population.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I remember the first time I went in, man, I had my tail between my legs. I was so freaking scared. And I remember when they search you before you went in and they make you squat and cough. I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was horrified walking in. And then, in between all those times too, like every time I went in, I was just angry that I got caught. It wasn't until the last time, and that was December 26th of 2020, where what you were talking about, I had a wave of relief, because that last time I got around, of course, warrants all in the counties, that's kind of the crappy part when you have warrants in multiple counties. Not only you're dealing with what you got going on in, say, Midland, and then you got, stuff you're dealing with in Saginaw or Bay County all simultaneously.
Writ of habeas corpus.
Yeah.
Do you ever do those?
Yeah.
Yep. I can relate.
And so we got that last time we got arrested in Saginaw. I had warrants out in Saginaw at the time too. And it was December 26th, 2020. At the time I was staying at the Open Door. We were in Saginaw, stuff went down, cops surrounded the vehicle, got all of us. And I remember I went to Saginaw County Jail, and that time it was the biggest wave of release I'd ever had. Because, I had a bunch of different charges all over the counties, and it was like I felt peaceful for the first time in years. I was like, I can finally just start getting this stuff taken care of. And that was the first time where I also consciously made the decision not to get high while in jail. Saginaw County, you can get just about, and it's all available for you. I mean, you can get Newports, lighters, vapes, dab pens, dope, whatever. It's readily available in Saginaw County Jail. And that was the first time I decided I'm just going to ride this out and get done. So finished up in Saginaw County, and then I got transferred over to Midland. And then coming out of Saginaw to Midland, I was like, this is a country club. This is phenomenal.
Yeah. I did like a few days in the bullpen over there. The old writ of habeas corpus back in early 2000s, and Saginaw was
the rough spot.
That was a different animal.
Yeah, it's a rough spot. I mean, people are fighting literally every single day. There's always stuff going on, raiding pods, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to be at the new jail. They rotate. There's an upstairs and the downstairs. Not everyone's out together at the same time. They rotate. And how the rotate schedule is, there's times where you're in this 4-man cell. You guys are only getting out for 4 hours for the entire day. And that's your whole day out. By the time I got to Midland County, it was so much calmer. Midland County is legitimately, not that all jails are nice, but Midland County is a pretty nice jail. And going into there, and then I was fortunate enough to get picked up onto recovery court. So it was either, recovery court or, you go do 2, 3, 4 years for everything all together, and, signed up for that. And from there, Harbor Hall, and that was phenomenal experience. It was the best move. That was best for me at the time. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, like, stories are, very, very, very similar from where we were, locations we were throughout the experience. So I can really relate to all what you're saying. The thing I think people don't understand is why if, like, all this trouble happens, and when I say people, a lot of normies don't understand the depths to, like, an opiate addiction. Why do they just keep doing this? And for me, in my experience, it was just that cycle of, like, it's so easy to just momentarily say, you really want to quit. I really want to quit, but I'll just do one more. And then that one more becomes
one more.
And it's years. It's years or weeks or whatever, however long it takes for that clink to happen. I don't know, this is pretty, I guess, across the board. I know a lot of people who've experienced the same thing, and it's when you get in there. I was just having a conversation, with the corrections officer about this, about the atmosphere in jail. When you get in there, it's not like, woo, let's go into recovery, everybody. No, people are...
Well, they're plotting, scheming, everything that they plan on doing as soon as they get out. I mean, there's times when you go into jail and you leave with better connections than you went in. Yeah. And you got a whole list of other phone numbers and people to connect with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did you, I guess... How did you retain that recovery mindset? Like, I want this, I want to change while you were in jail.
Oh, I just set the standard. Anytime I didn't involve myself with anyone that was, because you got people in there that like they're going to be cycling in and out the rest of their lives, mm-hmm. and you can. I mean, I literally, a ton of people I was locked up with, I can still see on the jail roster. Yeah. In and out. 6 years later, so. I just didn't associate with them at all. I didn't talk that way. All I did was just focus, journal. These are what I'm going to do when I get out. When I get out, I'll do my 90 days at Harbor Hall, take up absolutely everything out of there that I can. I'll move back into the sober house. And when I got back into the sober house over that 1016 building, I said, I'm not going to work for maybe my first month. Because the nice thing is, your first month's covered or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think when I left Harbor Hall, I was able to mow some lawns before I left. And, I had half a pack of cigarettes, a vape, and $160. No. I'm like, this will get me through for a little bit. And got to Harbor Hall. Didn't work that first month. I probably hit 2 meetings a day and then everything else you got to do for your phase 1 and recovery court. So, I think it's meeting a day, therapists twice a week, men's group twice a week, reporting, all that kind of stuff. And, I've always worked in, restaurants and bars and stuff. And when I got out, I was like, I'm not going to work in the restaurant right away. I got to make sure I'm solid before I do anything like that. And, I got a job slinging cell phones. I did that for a couple months. Just hit meetings, rode my bike everywhere. It's funny when you're looking back at that and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to get a car, my own place, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But dude, looking back, that few months was awesome. Yeah. You're just hanging out with the boys all the time, going to meetings, going to all these cookouts, meeting a ton of people. Your responsibilities at that time are such a bare minimum. And
it's so focused on build the foundation for your recovery.
Dude, absolutely. And I mean, that's basically how we met back then too, is mm-hmm. just seeing each other around and everything. And, it's, I would say I didn't have a lot when I got out, my parents rightfully so cut me off at that point, said, we can't help you anymore. And, the gal,
not because they didn't love you, but because they weren't going to enable.
Yeah. Cause they did love me, dude. They said, you need to figure this out on your own. You can't keep on doing this to us. And rightfully so. I don't think my dad and I talked for the entire time and plus a couple months. So my dad and I probably didn't talk for almost a year. And until he realized hey, my son's serious at this point, he's going to get it together. But yeah, when I left Harbor Hall there, the gal who's running, recovery court, I'll always be thankful for her. She went, because when I got arrested, I didn't have anything. There was no clothes.
Who was
nothing?
The recovery court coordinator.
That would have been Jaylene at the time.
Okay. Yep. That's who I had when I was in there.
Always thankful for that woman. Yep. I didn't have any clothes and I had nothing. She took the time out of her day to go thrifting and go to, whatever place they gave out free clothes to. She asked me a list of things that I liked, what I liked to wear. She took the time out to go out and find clothes that I actually liked that I could have. Mm-hmm. And took her time out, did all that. So yeah, when I left Harbor Hall, like I said, about $160, half pack of smokes, a vape, and that was it. That was everything I had in that moment. But the nice thing is it's all I ever needed.
Right.
We were good, So it's been phenomenal watching the build up over the last 5 or 6 years. It's a lot of strangers came together to help me out, and that a lot of them I consider family at this point.
Yeah, so I want to go back to your time in jail because something you said stuck out to me. It was this was the only option, right? You didn't talk to these people. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. You had it figured out in your head already how it was going to go. Very similar to me. In my situation, I went in and I was like, all right, I don't want to learn new ways to break laws. I don't want to learn anything I don't want to associate anybody who's trying to get out and go back to that life, which that carried into treatment for me. And that mindset from jail to treatment allowed me to be a sponge when people were like, hey, Adam, relate, don't compare. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to keep that one. Hey, Adam, profanity rarely contributes to context. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So all these little drops in the bucket, added up, and I was receptive to that. But I think it's the same for you with when you had to do.
Oh yeah, I mean,
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on. You were like, I'm done with this.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and similar to him, right? It was, go in, stay the night, maybe until Monday morning when you could see the judge. But it was quick little short stays and stints, and the amount of people that for me, it's been 13 years that I've been out of jail and I've been sober. But I know majority of those guys have been back and forth numerous times. And I mean, I couldn't understand it. I mean, there was no spades played by me. There never will be. I mean, I'm not a card guy anyhow, but I'm like, some
No
freaking
gambling.
losers.
No
You
gambling.
guys are some freaking losers, and you have a time of your life in here. Not me. It was reading, sleeping, working out until they changed the diet and was getting minimal protein, and then it was reading. I mean, I didn't associate with anyone unless they were trying to get better. And I mean, it's minimal. And even, the small percentage that are saying the shit, right? It's easy to be sober when you're locked up, right? For the most part. But I had nothing for him.
To maintain it when you get out is the real challenge, which is like, for me, the drug court or recovery court now I credit that program with, because every time I would manipulate probation, I'd get out on probation, parole, whatever it was, I would try and manipulate it in some way. Well, your time in recovery court, you can't really manipulate that program. They built it to a point where it's like, I mean, I was phased. I think I was one of the last, or if not the last, phase 3 graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And
you guys just got out soon. Phase 3 was done, and
you
were out.
Yep, discharged.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated January 4th, 2018, and I came into the program. It was like, I got home from Harbor Hall. It was December 21st, 2017, or 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I did just over a year in the program, and the way that they structured it, where I think I was reporting to Jaylene like 2-3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
My PO once a week. Court bi-weekly. Meetings every day. I was, can't remember my color. I think it was like emerald or something. And I had to, I'd call up the color line every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like emerald every day. I'm like, 7 days a week. I got a little bit annoyed with it because I'm like, well, I'm not using, this is stupid. Why do I have to go drop every single day? But there's a rhyme to the reason, right? Because you can't manipulate that. You can't. And if you try, you're going to get caught. And then the sanctions come down. And it's really a good program. I personally, I had the willingness to stay sober, but I don't know that I would have without that program.
Oh, absolutely, man. There were even times when I was in recovery court where, dude, I remember, speaking of dropping, I was going through some sort of bad situation, and I think I might have been phase 1, phase 2, something like that. But, at the time I still had my drug dealer's number memorized.
Mhm.
Something happened in my life. I can't really remember what it was, but, dude, I called him, I set up everything like, hey, I got $120 here for you. We'd always met on the west side of Saginaw. I said, I am on my way. And, I start driving out there, and I get to that, 7-Eleven, like kind of right off of Waldo.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, let's see what happens. I'll call Colorline real quick. Called it. I was dropping the next day. And, dude, honestly, that saved my life. That could have been it that night. I know for a fact, had I not been called in that following morning, we might not be sitting here right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that one more time could very well be your last time.
Yeah, and going back to, like, you mentioned a lot of the people you used with, seen in the jail, like, they're not with us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a scary world out there. I mean, I've lost so many friends to it. I remember one of the first buddies I lost back in, it was like 2002, Josh Drake. And, it was just like, and it's been consistent throughout. To make it out alive is I mean, we're the lucky ones.
Oh, absolutely.
We're blessed.
And, I always thought of it as by God's mercy, I'm alive. By His grace, I have the life I have today.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing consistently throughout. I think my first close friend died, I want to say 2017. And, I knew I had some, drug issues, went to already went through rehab, mental institution, all that kind of stuff, DUIs, yada, 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 overnights in jail. And when that happened in 2017, that was the first time where it was like a real slap in the face, like, holy shit, this stuff's real. Like, this is literally everything that, when you were kids, the DARE programs, your friends will die, become a bunch of scumbags, whatever. Like, this is, it's all really happening. Yeah, throughout the years, I mean, and you get to the point where you lose track,
Mm-hmm.
Until you get like a random Facebook memory of like a selfie with them, and then like, yeah, this guy's been dead for 5 years already.
Yeah. Yep. Or their birthday comes up.
Or
on
the birthday
Facebook.
comes up. Yeah.
It's like,
and you just think about their parents.
yeah.
Because their parents are getting, or their kids, or they're getting
Yeah.
the same notifications right now. Like, it's a shame, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a terrible disease and sad.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a lot of them, and I think there's some survivor's guilt because I overdosed and was saved.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that, like, I'm here, I went through a phase like, why me and why not this person? Why me and why not this person? And it, people say to me, because you were meant to do this, Adam. But then I'm like, I think in myself, well, this person was meant to do something too. They were meant to do something really spectacular in their life. And I think it's just by chance, God kept me here, called others home.
There's reasons far bigger than us, and
ones we won't ever understand.
it's hard not to weigh on and reflect on, and the why me, the good and the bad, right? At the depths. I mean, when people die, and but it doesn't stop. It's not enough to be like, oh, I need to quit. It's like, punch my ticket sooner and later, and you just carry on. And the more you survive, the more you go through, the more invincible you are, or the more of a death wish that you do have. doesn't change anything,
Yeah.
until your head and your heart. And I mean, you have to hit that bottom, because otherwise it's just go, go, go. I got to get fucked up to not think about that. Even though that's the last thing I should be doing. When we're broken, when we're down like that, we don't think like we are now.
And I think about like my mindset in those moments when I was in active addiction and I was just like in this cycle. And I remember, I was at like the Curry Motel or something.
Yeah, the Curry.
Yeah, Curry. Who knows about the Curry? Anybody out there? Curry Motel. You know where that is?
No.
What is that road? Right, going
Like
right
into like you're coming into Saginaw through Freeland, right there on the right hand side,
right on the curve,
right
there.
next to Timbers.
They do hourly rates. They do.
Yep.
It was one of them joints, but
I think it was about $55 a night back in 2019.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it was like I think 120 a week when I was there. That was like late 2000s. But back to the point was, I remember sitting there and being like, you know what? I don't even care. I was so depressed with where my life was, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to quit. I didn't have any resources. The people that were wanting me to quit, a lot of them had pushed, I had pushed them away, and a lot of them were just like, he's not gonna quit. He's just, doing his thing. So there were moments I sat there and I was just like, I just want to die.
Oh yeah. And speaking of people that are always there, like, back in 2018, all the way through, like especially the people at 1016, like the crew that was kind of running plays, like Drew, Tara, Jess, Kayla, like all those guys. That was a phenomenal thing. Was every time I went in, did a little bit fine for a couple months, whatever, went back out, but every single time I went back in, it was always with open arms. There's no animosity, absolutely nothing. They were
glad you're back type of mentality.
Oh, absolutely. And especially Tara, she, cause to be honest, I burnt her a couple times, lying like, oh, this is COVID time, oh, I'm clean. I was able to, pass a drug test, get back in.
But did you think she probably knew?
Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows, man? But she was always there for me. She always made sure, when I was ready to get clean, she had a bed open for me at that house. Every single time. She was there 100%. Yeah, I'll always be grateful to that woman.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Phenomenal person. Like I can think of like my time going through outpatient, and they had the old recovery by the slice. I used to love those, but I'd go in and eat, because I had some fitness goals, so I also have a pizza addiction. So that was a real moment for me, where I would go into these and I'd be taking my chicken and rice in there, right? I'd sit down and there's Hungry Howie's all over the table, and people are like, why are you not eating? Why are you bringing chicken and rice? And I'm like, well, because I have some body composition fitness goals that's not going to help with. And I remember getting some weird looks from people, but I remember like old Brew was there, the conversations, and this is to highlight like how important it is for even us to talk with those people that are in early recovery. Some of those conversations that we may not feel like there's a lot to, like there is a lot to it. Because I remember sitting with Brew before recovery by the slice, and him and I, some of the conversations we had, I was like, he made me feel like some of my weird off the wall ideas were not that crazy. Like he made me feel like a human, like, dude, I can relate to that. And those moments developed this spark of confidence in me that, there were a bunch of people along the way that I had those moments with, but I think it's important for us being everybody out there in recovery who's got a day more than the next person, make sure we give it back.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's where I kind of been lacking on, like, my part is, you know, I got, once I finished recovery court and everything like that, I've been so wrapped up with, like, my own personal life. It's incredibly selfish of me, but, you know, having my son and, you know, when they're finding out my fiance was, you know, pregnant, I was just, I wouldn't say just, but I was a waiter. I mean, you make okay money as a waiter, you know, don't get me wrong. And at that point I'm like, I need to figure this out like quick, you know? And, at that time I didn't really have any transferable skills at all. You know, I barely graduated high school. I'd always been a waiter and a bartender. You know, I didn't know how to build stuff. I didn't know how to fix things. So nothing blue collar would even come remotely near working. And, you know, at that time, waiting tables, you did all right. You know, you probably take home about $500-600 a week. And, you know, looking around any sort of apprenticeship or school or, you know, starting off the bottom end as a total pull of some, you know, blue collar job, I was like, I legitimately just can't afford to take this pay cut right now. And, you know, at that point, you know, when you worked at restaurants as long as I have, I mean, you've really got like maybe 4 or 5 options. You know, you can go into management, and again, you probably end up taking a pay cut from there. You can sell insurance. I couldn't, because state of Michigan, if you have felonies, you can't get your insurance agent's license. So that was off the board. You could sell real estate. Not crazy about houses, and I tried to pass that real estate exam like 7 times and it didn't work. Or you can sell cars. And when I said, okay, I'm gonna get into the car business, it took me probably a solid year and a half to finally get hired somewhere. So I interviewed absolutely everywhere. First few interviews went horribly bad. I was super nervous. I know I didn't say any of the right things, and you know, at the time I just wasn't an attractive candidate.
Right.
Hey, I'm on the prison deferment program right now. I'm going to have to leave randomly to, you know, hop on the call with my PO or drug court coordinator, or Thursdays at noon, I got to be at the courthouse. And then even after I finished all that, like, it still just wasn't an attractive candidate, because I tell them, like, this is where I'm at right now. And, you know, a lot of guys that made them kind of nervous. And, you know, I quit applying for probably about 4 months. And then another guy, you probably know him too, him and I had a lot of pretty similar history. And he got hired at a car dealership downstate. And I was like, man, I'll shoot my shot one more time. And I saw Richardson Gladwin was hiring a car sales professional. So I applied, and probably 20 minutes later, my current boss gave me a call and introduced himself. And I was like,
is that Evan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Evan. Yeah. And I was like, listen, I'm just going to lay it all on the table here for you right now. I didn't even know where Gladwin was. I'd never even heard of it. And I'll lay it all on the table for you right now. I just finished a prison deferment program. I live here in Midland. You know, this is what my life has been like the last, you know, 2 years since I've been on. I just completed. To be honest with you, I've interviewed absolutely everywhere, and no one's given me the shot. And he said, oh, no, you know, I want to meet you. So we set up the interview for a couple days from then. And I kid you not, the next day, my car broke down. And I didn't do, I was, like I said, I was a waiter. I bought the car at a, you know, a buy here, pay here, like, you know, 25% interest, something crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I had 200,000 miles on the thing, and like, I don't have the money to get it fixed. So, you know, the day before we had the interview, I called him back again. I said, listen, man, I don't know how this is going to work out at all. I live here in Midland. You know, you guys were up in Gladwin. I have no idea how this is going to work. And, you know, I totally get if this, you know, just isn't going to work out. And he's like, no, just get a ride up here. I still want to meet you. And so went up there, interviewed with him. And, no, overall, it went pretty darn well. I drove back home, and the next couple days he called me and said, hey, you know, I'm going to hire you. We'll get something figured out for a car for you. And so drove back up there. They just gave me something to ride back and forth in between, then helped me get a car, and that I drove for, you know, a year and a half before I was able to buy mine. And I'll be forever indebted to that guy and that family. Even when my son got sick, back in, this would have been like April of 24. At that time, I never met the other Richardson brothers or anything like that. You know, my son had some breathing issues. We had to stay at the Covenant Hospital for about a week and a half or so. You know, when I text Evan and said, "Hey, like I'm going to be out for a little while," he knew I wasn't doing too well with money at that point. Immediately sent me money to help out. Immediately after that, both his brothers and his dad all called, said, "Hey, if you need absolutely anything, please let us know." And you know that those guys, you know, they took a absolute complete stranger, and I owe a ton of my success right now to them, because if it weren't for them, I don't know where, you know, I'd be. I might still just be waiting tables again. And those guys went so far above and beyond to help me out, and I'll always be grateful to them.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. I'd love to, have Evan for a second, just like, hey, just one question. What was his reasoning for giving you that chance? Like, what, I guess, was it a God wink type moment where he was like, I need to hire this guy? Mm-hmm. I'm curious to what it is for him. You know, like my experience with, BP, you know, Brian Patrick, mm-hmm. Pretty sure I annoyed him to the point where he would hire me. I don't know if it was that or if my persistence, he was like, you know, I think this guy is going to work out, mm-hmm. because he's obviously asking me every day for a job. So his willingness to just come here, he really wants to work in this location for some reason. Maybe he'll be a good employee. Maybe I should give him a chance. Mm-hmm. You know, like because I think it's important to communicate that side of things too, because like employers out there, there's thousands of people in early recovery, and I know there's the common denominator for both of us. We both had someone that was like, you know, when we were down there, they reached down and kind of brought us up, or at least was like, hey, here's an opportunity. You run with it. Mm-hmm. I think like if more employers were able to do that, like you'd see more. You'd probably see the other end of it too, yeah. the failures, but you'd see more successes.
Oh, absolutely. I always make a joke whenever we're hiring at the dealership, and you know, it's been me getting hired on has been pretty mutually beneficial for both Evan and myself. So if you're ever looking for decent sales guys, just sit outside Midland County Jail. You know, they usually get released around 6 o'clock in the morning, right. And you know, see what they can do for you.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, has he ever told you? Was there like one thing that stuck out to him that said, "I need to hire this guy"?
I think it's just being open about everything to him, you know, and same thing as seeing like if you're not open and upfront about everything right away,
it'll come out eventually.
And you know, same thing when he offered me that job, I told him, I said, I promise you, I will be your absolute best salesman, and I was able to keep that promise.
Yeah, I wonder if he could see your willingness and your desire to really change your life, and knew that like this guy's he's gonna be car salesman number one.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's really cool though that he did that for you, the entire Richardson family, because, you know, it makes me feel really good that my stepson's vehicles came from them and that family, because, you know, I always say buy small business, support local families, and even more so makes people like that I want to spend my money with, you know, people who are helping others.
Yeah, they're an awesome organization all around, man. They're really, really solid people. They definitely been over backwards for everyone.
Yeah. Only one I've met's Evan, and we had a short conversation, but you know,
yeah, just a
like,
solid dude.
Seems like a solid dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like a guy you could just sit down and BS with too. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Real
but the thing is, he's a good motivator too. Like when we have our meetings and everything like that, you know, sometimes he'll give these short little speeches afterwards, like you just want to run through a brick wall for the guy.
Yeah,
like he's
like
a motivator.
Dan Campbell-esque.
Exactly, man. The guy's a solid dude. He's a good leader. I've learned so much about, you know, even being a good parent. You know, between parenting advice, how to, you know, a lot more about the car business or business in general. You know, even when I was looking at buying my house, I asked him a ton of questions. Like he's whatever aspect like I've needed help with, he's always been more than willing to take the time and, you know, answer questions.
The very best family isn't the ones you're born with, right?
Absolutely.
It's the one that happened and that we choose. And I mean, that sure sounds that way when
or they choose us.
You meant enough to him, right? That his brother and dad or whoever it was you said that you hadn't met yet at that point are reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that wasn't just, you know, that word, something was said, and whatever he said was high enough about you that they call. Right? That's family.
Absolutely.
And that's just the very best. You feel at home when you're working with family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Us. All that. It doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And it's nice to be there every single day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I don't, you know, every day I get up fairly early between, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, you know, hit the gym, whatever.
Yep.
I usually like to get to work we open at 8. I like to get there between 7:30, you know, set out snacks in the waiting room, you know, make sure the coffee tank's full, you know, fill up water bottles, all that kind of stuff. But like when I'm at work, man, it's just, you know, it's like my second house. You know, all the guys, we all get along together really well. We've got an awesome team there. You know, when it's time to work, you know, we work. But yeah, dude, I absolutely love my job.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, meet a ton of cool people all the time. And, you know,
just met Gail, right?
Just met Gail.
Yeah, Gail's awesome.
You know, and that's the thing too with when you get into sales, what you'll always learn is like customers are going to become friends a lot faster than friends will become customers.
Yep.
100%.
It's the same. I could use the same thing as for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the clients come in and they become friends, right?
Yeah.
So
next thing you know, you're hanging out with them after work, or they're going over to their house, or you know what I mean, or meeting up with coffee, all that kind of stuff.
Going to their like the high school baseball games, or you know,
which I'm going to watch college, not this weekend, but
the
next. Caden.
Get Caden. And then you just sent me a picture. Look who it is playing. Wasn't it bagpipes on St. Patty's Day? One of our clients,
David Huford.
Yep. So, so cool the variety of people we meet. And,
absolutely.
And what we do, because even training is a little bit. It's a little bit of sales. It's
absolutely.
How can what we do get you to your goal?
Oh, and that's the thing about you guys, man. I absolutely respect your hustle. You know, just the from everything that, you know, going from, you know, because how many clients do you have now?
Right around 100.
That's insane. And then, you know, you're doing this, you know, because you guys are all signed up with, both of you guys do a ton of stuff out of here too for the recovery community. You know, I know I'm busy and I have a lot going on. I legitimately don't understand how you guys manage to do all of it.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Yep.
You know, because even like this is one of the, you know, first things I was able to do for a part of the recovery community in years. But, you know, I don't know how you guys are managed to balance your business and then also simultaneously go out and help the community as much as you do.
Yep.
You know, it's honestly mind blowing.
Yeah. We've been blessed to be able to get into the juvenile center, train the kiddos in there. That's like huge. And
that's something they're going to be remembering for years, dude. Yeah, because I'm sure you got some, you know, 16, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years from now, they'll be sitting on these couches talking about this podcast from listening about these
so.
2 old guys that came in there and, you know, helped train them while they're in juvie.
Yep.
You know?
And now...
What do they call us? The gym bros?
Yeah, the gym bros. They call us Hans and Franz. That's the older people there, not the kids. But
going there is awesome. It's some of them, you know, with substance abuse, all different stories.
Some of them, it's just they're reacting to trauma.
Yeah.
And that's what their reaction to it gets them into trouble.
Yeah.
And I'd never had anybody when I was that young age. I know obviously you didn't from hearing your story. Somebody that's been down that road. Be like, turn around, dummy. Like, any of that real talk. And I get reprimanded here and there because I talk to them just like I am 15 or 16, 17. And
well, you're relating with them too. That's
and I mean,
thing.
I'm just real as real can be, whatever the situation. They're whining, they don't want to do something, right? And I get the gym isn't for everybody. I'm like, look at it this way. So I've been locked up. You know, the only time that moves fast when you're locked up is when you're sleeping. So bust your ass, go eat, and go to sleep. There's a day gone. Day down. And some of them will, you know, reason with that don't like doing the stuff. Some of them love it. But I'm real with them. Hey, don't tell me what I want to hear. All I am is older than you. Maybe at some point you're going to heed my advice. I don't care if it's right away. Keep it. Don't shut me out. Hear what I have to say. And they appreciate, I think, a lot of times the approach. And how I do talk.
Authenticity. You are you, right? I am me. We're telling them from our experience. So I think that's a lot of how we connect with them in there. And then, you know, we just met with old Captain Randall, Scott Holzinger, starting this jail recovery pod, which is, I feel like it's...
it's phenomenal. Oh, my God. If there's something like that back then, oh, my God, dude.
Going back to atmosphere, where there's like a structured atmosphere. They're going to have one-on-one counseling opportunities. They're going to have classes. They're going to have Joel's taking meetings in there. He's a recovery coach. Buddy's going to be taking a meeting in there. There's like...
Oh, it's amazing, dude.
Camille is doing art therapy. Well, it's not art therapy. It's more of creative time. We were discussing the naming behind it. She was explaining it, but then they have us coming in, the fitness aspect to teach them like this stuff can actually help your recovery. Coping mechanisms. Now they have art. Now they have talk to someone. Now they have exercise. Like that's been my go-to. So these adults that go in there now are going to have tools to carry out into recovery, which I'm super excited that we just went in there, it was actually a week ago, had a meeting, discussed the scheduling and all that. And I was just like walking down to the pod where it'll be at, and I'm like, this is crazy because June 22nd, 2016 is when I went in to jail before recovery court and all that. And here we are just shy of 10 years. I'm walking back in here, and then I'm part of a recovery pod that they're setting up. So just, you know, big picture wise, it's awesome. They're doing this, the changes that our leaders in our community are making. And
so how's that work with the pod? So say say you're a fresh one. You've never been to jail, nothing like that. You get, pulled over with the bag of dope in the car, whatever. Is it when you get, checked into the jail or whatever, do you say, oh, I want to get clean? Is there like an interview process in order to get that pod? Do you already have to be on drug court or My Hope or?
I'm not entirely sure the process that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go into depth with that, but I know like classification. There's classification in any.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're in there
facility.
for beating the hell out of someone,
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
like, oh, we'll just throw you in this pod right here.
Yeah, so there's parts that you have to be like nonviolent. There's those factors, but I also think that there's a time frame before, like you have to be in X amount of time before you can go in there
and not get into any sort of trouble or a bunch of issues.
Yeah,
with
and I
COs
think
stuff.
I think it's partially like you don't want someone in there to go into all this packed schedule, all these activities while they're detoxing.
Yeah.
So, I feel like the people before me, myself, you. I mean, I could start listing off names, but for the people that live out loud, and then there's the people that to maintain their anonymity. There's hundreds of us just in this community.
Oh, absolutely.
Thousands around, but we've paved the way to where now our community leaders are like, we need to make these changes. We need to make these changes. Employers are a little bit more open to the idea of hiring people in recovery because we are good employees. We are community assets. The people that are in recovery, we bring a lot to the community in a ton of different ways. So
yeah, I mean, look at all the success stories.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that got clean. I mean, if you're gonna put this much in to getting fucked up, right? When you can figure out life without any of that, how much are you gonna get put in to succeeding?
Yeah.
Or helping somebody else succeed, right? Like,
I had someone in treatment. It was one of the counselors. I want to say it was Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Peter up there?
Yeah.
I want to say he was like, Adam, just imagine a world that you put the same effort into your recovery that you put into getting high. Imagine what you could accomplish. And I was like, I did work pretty hard to get high. So that skill is that work ethic. Maybe it's transferable. And it is.
oh, 100%.
And I'm like, that's part of it. I seen a post, Derek Sturgeon.
Mm-hmm.
He was on not too long ago. And he talked about how, like, people say his life's a highlight reel. And it may look like it from the point now, but it doesn't. People don't say that when they look at where he was years ago. Like you came out and you were in the sober house, and it wasn't all, what's the word they use? It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, dude, and there's so much you got to learn when you go into that, dude. Like learning how to do your taxes, paying off old credit cards, how financing a car or house works.
How do I grocery shop?
How do you budget every single month? It's not, a big part of it's staying clean, but also like trying to learn how to be an adult.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for the people that were all around me, man, I don't know where I'd be at. And then you throw on top of that, like, you find out you're going to be a dad.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I got into sober living in June of 21. By January of 22, it was like, hey, you're going to be a father. So even there, like in that specific situation too, like how do I become a good partner as well?
Mm-hmm.
How do I, treat this person with respect? How do I not belittle someone? How do I take into their feelings into consideration? We barely knew each other at the time, finding out she was pregnant, and then we move in together, get a place, and thank God it has worked out. Because statistically speaking, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I always makes me laugh, and I think about her telling her mom she was pregnant, and it's like, you're pregnant with who? The guy that's in a halfway house right now on a prison deferment program that's a bartender at Old Chicago.
Yeah. But look at
Oh
you
my
now.
God.
Look at you now, man. And that's like something I want to highlight, you know, to all of our listeners, all of our viewers, is that like people have similar stories. You and I have very similar stories, and we have a lot of comparable aspects to our recovery, but there's I know I'm hitting the nail on the head again here, but like how many of us are just in Midland?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is possible. So the point being, like for people out there struggling, I'm working with a guy right now who's, you know, really been struggling. And I'm like, what life do you want, dude? Because you can build it. This is just a matter of how hard do you want to work? What sacrifices are you willing to make? Because if you're willing to, you know, make those sacrifices of busting your ass, asking people for help, continue working, be vulnerable, be open with your employer, doing these things, then you can build whatever life you want.
Absolutely. Yeah, those first few months, you know, when you look back at it, like again, looking back at a lot of fond memories, but in that moment, you're like, God, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what to do. I don't have any money. You know, I'm sharing a bedroom with 2 other dudes at the sober living house. You know, one of them doesn't shower ever. You know, like
Right,
it just, you know, you're trying to figure out what's going on with yourself while adapting to the rest of the world. And your biggest crutch is gone. You know, you have any other issues ever, like, oh, I'm just going to get high about it. You take that away, and it's like, well, now what the hell do I do? You know, and then just trying to channel that energy into something good, whether it's building a life for yourself. Like my phase 1 of recovery court, I didn't have a second of free time. I enrolled into college, you know, went to school right away. You know, I worked, you know, 35 hours a week, you know, all this stuff required for drug court. And then plus, you know, everything that you did on the side for recovery is I just made sure I didn't have a lot of time because, you know, gym in the morning, going to work, going to class, all the recovery court stuff. I just filled my time into where, you know, I'm out of the house at, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm coming home right before curfew at 10 p.m.
Yep. You're busy.
Exactly.
Structure makes a huge difference. That's part of my success was having, like, I'd have the gym time. I'd have, okay, I got to drop here. I got to report here. I got gym time here, lunch here, this here. It was so structured that it gave me some sort of peace in that structure. There wasn't as much chaos, like that downtime where you're just sitting there and you're like, maybe I call the dope man.
Yeah.
You know?
And even today in my life, that's how it is. You know, what I do, you know, Monday through Sunday is typically the same every single week. Up between 4:30 and 5, I'm at the gym, come home, get ready for work. At the dealership between 7 and 7:30, get the coffee and everything going. And then, you know, typically throughout the workday, you meet all sorts of different kinds of people, right? But it's typically the same thing. Set an appointment on the car. They come and take a look at it. Typically they want to buy it. They buy the car, on to the next one, and just keep on rolling through. And I love the structure in my life. You know, there's not a lot of surprises that come out of nowhere. You know, I'm incredibly happy with the life that I was able to build for myself and Nicole. And, you know, that's the other wonderful thing about being with her. She's got a great family. Like, you know, her Aunt Marissa, you know, she's big, heavy involved in the community too, man.
Is this the Marissa that I know?
Yeah.
Ah,
yeah. That's my
awesome.
son. That's my son's great aunt. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Marissa's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. She was on, you know, recovery court counsel, all that kind of stuff. And, but yeah, that's my son's great aunt, man. She's phenomenal. We see her probably 4 or 5 times a week, go out to dinner, hang out over the weekends. She's phenomenal people.
She's a huge part of what is being built at the jail.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know that was my son's?
I didn't know.
Yeah, dude, that's my son's great aunt.
That's awesome. Marissa's awesome.
Yeah.
She's a ball player too.
Oh yeah, she's a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her fiance, Rich, man, he's such a solid dude. He's like the only one in the family that's like a man's man.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
He knows how to fix stuff, work on things.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, and you know, my son just absolutely loves him.
Yeah.
You know, my son's kind of, you know, no, I wouldn't say weird around guys, but Nicole's family is mostly women,
Mhm.
you know. But man, he loves his Uncle Rich, bro. Every time he goes over there, he's super excited to see him. Yeah, her fiance Rich, he's just an awesome dude.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Evan Richardson, for hiring Jonathan. And, you know, anybody out there who gives someone early in recovery that opportunity, thank you. We appreciate you. All it takes is giving someone a chance. So thank you for tuning in. Till next time, don't forget, like, subscribe, share.